Hey there, and welcome to the channel. In today's video, we're going to go over how to use the grid block so that you can create amazing layouts on your pages. While you could use the columns block, and I know that the team behind the block editor is also experimenting with sort of a grid variation of the group block, they don't quite give you all the control you need to create those spectacular layouts. That's where this grid block really comes in handy. As you'll see, you can not only control how many columns there are at the desktop, tablet, and mobile screen sizes, but you can also control how many columns and rows each grid item spans at those screen sizes as well. It's the perfect way to create spectacular grids without having to worry about any CSS. But before we get started, if you want to see more videos about the Crosswinds Blocks plugin, or the Crosswinds framework in general, or the WordPress site editor in general, be sure to hit the subscribe button and ring the bell for notifications. Now, let's get started. Okay, so we're going to create first a sort of basic grid, and then we're going to do something kind of advanced to show you what it can do. But really, what it can do is up to your imagination. So anyway, first off, we're going to add in the basic grid block. So come in here, scroll down, find it down here, hit basic grid. And then what I find, especially when using this block, it's really good to have this list view open, makes it easier to navigate. So we're going to hit the plus icon here to add a basic grid item. And basically the basic grid item is sort of a second block that only lives inside of the basic grid block. And when you create a new basic grid item, you get a group block also by default, which helps. And we just want sort of the generic group block. And then for what we're going to do, we need to make sure we have flexbox checked over here and make sure that it fills the height of the parent block. And then from here, we're going to add in images. And we're just going to create like a basic image gallery. And so something I want to do is make sure that this grid block is wide aligned, like so. And then what I like to do is just, especially if I'm duplicating things over, just have 6 of these and change all these images. All right, so now we have our images in place, but you also might be noticing that some of these images don't align, and that doesn't look great. Well, if you're using the Crosswinds framework theme along with Crosswinds Blocks, which I am in this demo right here, what we can do is select the basic grid block, and then we're going to come down here, and we're going to add in an additional CSS class, photo-grid, and if you saw, these 2 images expanded vertically so that they align with the rest of the images. It's just a small thing if you really want to make sure that your grids are pixel perfect. All right, so now we're going to come over here to our grid settings. And what we have here is the ability to control how many columns are shown at desktop, tablet, and mobile screen sizes. For this, since we have 6 grid items, we want it to be 3 across, like so. And we can change it. We could do 2, could do 1, could do 6 across if we wanted. Anywhere up between 1 and 12, basically. And again, you can change it for tablet and mobile screen sizes so that your grids look great no matter what screen size they're on. And then we can also come down here and we can decide whether we want the gap between each grid item to be the same for both columns and rows, or maybe we just want maybe we want our column gaps to be different from our row gaps. 10 and 50 or something like that, or we just want them all to be the same. For now, I'm just going to keep it 30, but you could always play around with it. Especially if you're creating a photo grid, sometimes no gap actually works best. But anyway, we're going to come up here, we're going to hit update, and we're going to view our new grid, and here you go. Now we have our nice simple grid. And now that we know how to use the grid block, let's do something a little advanced to show you just what it could potentially do and where you can really run wild with your imagination. So I'm going to come up here to this grid item. I'm going to hit on advanced grid item settings. And here is where we can control how many columns and rows a grid item spans at the different screen sizes. So we're going to come over here and I'm going to just hit, I want it to span 2 columns and I want it to span 2 rows. And now I've got a more interesting grid. And so we hit update and review on here. And there you go. Now we have a really, pretty interesting photo gallery. And we can control how all of these look across the different screen sizes. And now that WordPress has sort of this expand on click feature right here, we can just do that. We could do it for all the images. And now we have a really cool photo gallery that people can click on the images and expand them to see more. And that is the grid block in a nutshell. So that's how you can use the grid block to create amazing layouts. What questions do you have about the grid block? Or have you already used it to create great layouts and want to show them off? Be sure to leave them all down in the description below. And if you want to learn more about the Crosswinds Block plugin or the Crosswinds framework in general, be sure to check out links to all those down in the description below as well. Next time we're going to go over the accordion and tabs blocks that you can use with the plugin. To see that video, as well as more videos on the Crosswinds Blocks plugin, as well as the Crosswinds framework in general, or even just the WordPress site editor in general, be sure to hit the subscribe button and ring the bell for notifications. But until next time, happy WordPressing.